Hello and welcome, it's Barbara. I'd like to welcome you to another December daily collaging inspiration video. We are on December 6th. Let's see what we can come up with. Today I feel like I want to challenge myself. Now remember, there was a prompt here with round elements, which I struggle with. Yeah, it's number 4. Use 3 round elements. As always, I will circle this and put today's date, December 6th. But before we do anything, of course, what are we gonna do? We're gonna open my advent calendar. Where is the number 6? There we are. Let's see what I get. A bag of gummies, and they are Christmas themed, red and white, what am I saying? Red and green. Let's see what they look like. This is what they're like. Yum. I'm gonna start right away. So good, so good. So sad I can't share these with you, seriously. For this collage, I would like to take you on my thought journey on how I would go about tackling a prompt like this. The first spontaneous reaction I have to a prompt like this that I don't feel confident about is like, oh gosh, I'm so bad at working with circles or round images. So that is the first instinct. And then after that, I tell myself, okay, why is that? Well, it's because I don't practice them enough. So the only way to get better at that, to feel more confident, is to practice it. So that's what I want to do today. That's why I want to challenge myself, because why should I let round images get in my way? Whoops. I'm not gonna let them win. I'm gonna win. Okay, it's not about winning or losing. But you know what I mean. Like I'm not gonna let round images dictate if I'm comfortable or not comfortable with a page. How do you tackle something like this? Where do you even start? So my next thought was, where can I get round images? Like what kind of round images do I even have? So I rummaged through my supplies, not only my December daily box, but also other journaling supplies, stickers, maybe things I've stamped, maybe things I've printed from digitals. Anything. So that's what I did. I went through my stuff, and just to show you an example of some things. This is from last year's Your Creative Studio box, as well as these here. This, I'm not sure where this came from. Definitely a round image. These are stamps that I have that I've stamped on coffee dyed paper. No clue where this came from. It was in my December daily box. This is something, I also don't remember where it came from. This might have come from a Happy Mail. These are obviously just punched circles from book or music pages. This is from one of my digital prints, as are these. And this one. And then I have some stickers. So here we have round elements. These I got locally. Here's one that says enjoy the little things. Then I have these random ones. And then I also have these sticker books from Pepin, which are great. This happens to be a floral themed one. These have round stickers in different sizes, as well as other shaped stickers. And then I also have this one. This is a natural history one. And this also has round images, as well as others, but it also has like these big round beautiful ones. There's some here with some fruit and veggies. So there's many options. So how do I decide what I want to use? One thing you definitely have to consider is how big is your page and how big are the images that you can use. So I know, for example, going back to this natural history one, we had these beautiful large ones here, for example, with the butterflies. I could fit one of these on here, but then I'd have to add 2 more smaller ones because this is really quite big for a page like this. So that's definitely an option if I want to make that my focal point and then add smaller ones somehow on the side. That can definitely work. But then I need to also think about what can I add to this that would work with the colors I want to go with to support my focal image. So the next thing I need to consider then is colors. When I was looking through this, I was drawn to these floral ones. And even though we're in the middle of winter and there's no flowers blooming anywhere, I'm still drawn to these flowers, maybe because I'm longing for spring already. So I came across these, for example, which have white flowers or white and pink. And I'm just thinking this would work with a wintry background. Why not? It's my book, I make my own rules. So I'm thinking, what other 2 circle images can I add to the page to support this one in some way or to make a harmonious page? So because, for example, if I add this one and then I would add something like this, to me, this is not going to be harmonious. Neither are adding this with these. It just doesn't work. Or even this one. It just doesn't work. So that's something I need to think about. Can I maybe, if I decide to go with one of these 2, can maybe one of these work? That's a good question. Will one of these be, even though they are nice pastel colors, they might be too dominant to go with either of these. So these are all things that we need to consider when we choose our focal points. And I always choose my focal points first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these 2 images out so that I can play with them and to find a composition and elements that work without having to actually glue them on anything first. So I'll take these out. And I'll actually even cut around it because that way I can just see it better how it's going to look. Once I've cut around these, I can kind of imagine better how they might work on my page. Haven't made a decision yet which one I want to use. So now, in order to decide that, I want to think about what kind of background will I use. What kind of background can I create to give this a wintry feel, because I'm using a botanical image and I don't want the feeling of the page to feel like spring. So how can I do that? I want a wintry background that won't take anything away from these images, which don't actually pop out at you. So I went through my box from December Daily and looked through all the papers and the napkins, and I came across this one again. So this was the one that I used on my butterfly page. Here, the 3 big snowflakes that I added here. So this time I could use the same napkin and I could just add it as a background. Like this, we would still see the writing through, which would be really nice. It definitely gives it a wintry feel, and we could add one of these 2 flowers as a focal point. Looking at this now, this is a very cold background, obviously. So I want to give it a little bit of warmth, and this now helps me choose which one of the 2 I want to use. I want to use this one because this has some pink in it and it just warms up the page slightly. Okay, I have 2 elements chosen. We are on a good path. And my next step is to cut the napkin so that will fit my page, so I can work with it a little better to then choose some more elements. I'm again going to take my water brush, but since I've had such bad experience with the water just blopping out randomly, I'm actually going to use it with some water this time, and I'm just going to dip it in water, and that might work better. So I of course don't want this border, so I can just go around that. So I'm just trying to make a line with my brush, so hoping that it will tear nicely along this line. This is a very strange napkin. If you're new to working with napkins, please make sure you first separate your plies. Never work with the, usually it's three plies or 3 layers. You want to separate those before you do any decoupaging or anything with them. So then I'll go around the edge here, the edge of my book. And I don't need these to be straight lines. Actually, I don't want them to be straight lines, but this is a very strange napkin. So I'm guessing it will probably tear fairly straight, either fairly straight or not at all. It could go either way. Let's see if this works. Yeah, this is such a weird napkin. So this is actually still kind of difficult to tear. If you have a regular napkin, it's going to be extremely easy. Okay, this should work. How do I attach it? Usually I would just use glue stick, but actually, because this is such a tough napkin and I don't see how it could easily tear, I might actually use my deco glue thingy that I used last time on the butterfly page, which is similar to a Mod Podge. So this is what mine looks like. I got it locally. It is a matte version. I believe this is more matte than the matte Mod Podge, which actually isn't matte. Such a fraud. And so I'm going to start by putting it here. I'm using a wet brush because this is quite thick, and I think it will just be easier to apply. And the reason why I want to use this rather than using glue stick, because I'm going to add this on top as well, because I want this page to not have the fabric-like finish that the glue stick would have if I don't add anything on top. I want this to have more like a paper quality to then build my collage on. I'm gonna start from the middle and go towards the outside. Usually I would be a lot more gentle, but this napkin is really, I don't know what it's made out of, but it's pretty tear resistant. Like, it hardly even tears when I want it to tear. Just want to make sure I have no bubbles. So as usual, when I work on a page, I'm thinking in baby steps. I'm not thinking of the final outcome. I'm just thinking always of my current step, and then I will consider my next step. And then that way I'm just making one small decision at a time. I'm not overwhelmed. And I could walk away from this anytime and continue maybe a few hours later, maybe a day later or more. Then I'll have a fresh perspective and I'll just keep building what I've started. So now it's time to let this dry, and then we can think about our next steps. Once this is dry, fairly dry at least, I'm going to add my focal image again, and now I need to think about what other 2 round elements can I add that will harmonize with this one, that will support it without taking away from this, because we want this to be the star of the page. So we have to keep the colors light, because if we have dark colors here, that's totally going to distract. And so I went through the book again with the stickers, and I found 2 images that I think would do a good job of supporting my focal image, which are these 2. And I chose 2 images that also have a little bit of pink in them. And they are smaller, so they're not going to distract from the focal point, but they will actually enhance it. Now I need to think of my composition. How could I add these? I want my focal point not on the edge anywhere. I want it somewhere towards the center of the page, but not smack in the center. So we kind of want it off center, maybe something like this. And these 2, to balance it, we have to add them in a way to keep your eye moving around the page. So I don't want to put them both down here or both up here. So I need to find a way that will keep my eye moving, and as always a triangle is good for that. So what are my options here? I could put one here and one here. So I don't want to put them like this, even though this would form a triangle, but it's boring because it's a triangle with 2 equal sides. I want an asymmetrical triangle, which just makes the page much more interesting. So I could put one here, and I could put the other one here, for example. That makes an interesting composition. I could also switch it and say I put this one here and I put this one here. And actually I could even leave that here because this is pretty much in the middle. That works just as well. I wouldn't even say that one is better than the other. For some reason, I'm more gravitating towards this one, but I can't even explain why. Okay, so let's say that is my composition. Now, of course, this alone is pretty sad. But if I stick with these, now I can think about what else can I add to enhance this page. What comes to mind is I want to find a quote that is going to explain what this is. because of course it's a bit weird. We have these spring flowers on a wintry background. Like, what is this? What is this? So I hopped on the internet and I searched literally for quotes about flowers in winter. And one of the first ones that popped up is one that I love and one that I want to use. And it reads, "She was a flower blooming in winter, a lone beauty of color amidst the ache of the freezing white." And it's by a lady called Shreya Sarkar. It's perfect for this page. So now I need to think about how can I add it to my page. I don't think I'm going to stamp it because that just seems like way too much work. I could print it, but I don't feel like doing that either. So I thought, why don't I challenge myself and write something myself, which I never do because maybe you know I don't enjoy my handwriting. And actually I think there's another prompt in here saying add your own handwriting, because that was again another one I wanted to challenge myself. So I could actually make this work for both of the prompts, but that's beside the point. Now I need to decide, how do I add my handwriting to this? And this is kind of where I am stuck. I could write directly on the napkin with a pen that would really stand out on top of this page or on top of this font, because this font still is peeking through pretty dark. So it would need to be an even darker pen, but that might just look messy if I put writing on writing. So then my next thought was, well, I could write it on separate pieces of paper, and I want to split it up, I think, in 3 parts, and then somehow try to add it in a collage style to the rest of the images. I don't know if this is going to work, but we're gonna give it a try. So I need to choose what kind of pen do I want to use. I could maybe use a pink marker. I could just use a black ballpoint pen. I don't want to use a black marker or a fine liner. I think that would just be too much. I'm not sure. Let me start by grabbing a pink marker and we can see how that would look. I picked these 3 pens or markers. This is a Sharpie ultra fine point. This is a Tombow dual brush pen, but this has a smaller nib here, and then I have a Stabilo in 0.4. I think they all have different pinks. I'm going to try it on a scrap piece of regular copy paper because these have white backgrounds and I'm not planning on putting any tea dye, distress ink or anything on it. I will leave them white since we're working in a winter spread. So I'm just going to play around with writing 3 separate parts of the quote with different pens and just see what I like best, if any. Yeah, so this has a tip like this as well, and it has the wide brush tip. And I don't like any of these. They are too bright. They take too much away from my flowers. I don't like it. So let's try using a regular black ballpoint pen. I think that is much better. I need to decide, is the size of my font what I want, and is how I'm dividing the sentences what I want. I think the font size is okay. The division, this one I think I want to change, and this one I want to change. Okay, I'm gonna use these 3, but I will write them again, try to be a little neater about it. Tear them out and then see what else we do. I have my torn pieces here. So the idea was to add them each to one of the flowers. Next, I think I want to add some inking around the edges of this one and this one. Even this one, I'm going to take off now and ink around the edges because that will change the way this page looks, and then I think it will make it easier for me to decide what else I need to do. And now I feel like I want to add some more scraps underneath without covering all of my snowflakes in the background. That would totally defeat the purpose, but I have the feeling they're not connected enough yet, so I want to add something underneath them. I have my box of scraps here with my mostly neutral scraps. I will try to choose some from there. Looking at this now, I think I do want to add my tea dye distress oxide to my quote. It's standing out too much for me. I want these flowers to stand out the most. And then I'm going to glue down all these bits, and then we'll see if it needs anything else. This is where we are now. Everything is glued down. I'm not happy with it yet. I don't know if I will be at the end. But I think it needs a little something else, a little something extra, some more details maybe. So I tend to go to my little box of special scraps, I call them. They're just little odds and ends. And I want to see if I can find something that might work to enhance what we have here. Something that jumps at me is a torn piece of book page which is watercolored on, partly anyway. I like that right there. Then what else do we have? There's a piece of fabric here. Not sure about this one. There's some lace, tiny piece of lace here. Whoops. It is in a very, very soft pink, cream pink color. Here again, I'm thinking if this was alone, I would probably put something here. This is the tiniest piece of cheesecloth. But of course I have to take into consideration the whole composition. So I don't want to have two elements like this on top of each other. It just doesn't look nice. You see here, one is on the left, one is on the right. And so this one here should go on this side again, just to balance it out. So putting it here looks a lot better, but I don't know that I'm gonna use that. This here is a little bit bigger. It's not pink, it's coffee dyed, but no matter. I just want it to lose its shape a little bit. Maybe something like this. I like that. Okay, let me glue all of these down. Is this my favorite page? No. Am I happy with the result? Happy-ish. I know it's not one of my better pages, but that's okay. I'm happy that I challenged myself. I'm gaining experience with every time I'm using these round elements that I'm struggling with. And hopefully one day I will feel more confident and I will be able to use them more easily. But for now, I'm accepting that this is where I am in my artistic journey, and that's totally okay. And now I will add the date, and I'm going to add it this time with a pencil so that it doesn't distract from anything else. So I'm going to make it small. I'll just put it on the corner here so that you can see it if you're looking for it, but it doesn't jump out at you. Very, very tiny. That's all I have for you today. I hope it helped you in some way. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I hope to see you back here tomorrow. Love you guys. Mwah, mwah.